Three big American companies which have survived. If you look at the history of the American car industry, there's a man, William Durant and Alfred P. Sloan, got together, amalgamated all these brands together. The poor were still buying Model T, and the rich started to buy. For a long time, Ford had one big success model. GM is not one car company. The American companies are not big companies even in because China is the fastest growing electric market. They are not even. Now, why I don't look at American cars is Ford failed completely. They opened here in Madras. The Americans never thought these. India became very successful as a. But he refused to make. They didn't never expected. The Japanese started making. He really expanded the market for. Because in Europe the tax on petrol is. In India tax on petrol is. The Japanese Toyota is not a Japanese company. Failed completely.
So taking all this Trump tariff into thing, and now he's announced his tariff against, and their whole auto industry is dependent, and their supply chain is completely linked with Canada. With all that pain, what do you see the prospect of something like a Ford and GM in this environment? We spoke about Japan, we spoke about Tesla. What about GM, Ford, and all these other?
There are three big American companies which have survived. One is General Motors. Another is now what is called as Stellantis. They bought Fiat. And then there is Chrysler plus Fiat. And the third is, of course, Ford. Now, if you look at the history of the American car industry, when the car industries became very big, GM is not one car company. Several car companies got together, merged it, and made it into GM. So each you see Chevrolet, BUISK, get over a brand. So
Buick.
Buick. Each thing was a separate car company. There's a man, William Durant and Alfred P. Sloan, got together, amalgamated all these brands together, and made General Motors. And they beat a company called Ford Motor Company, which was the dominant player. Now, why Ford lost out, I'll tell you. For a long time, Ford had one big success model. They had the assembly line model, in which he made Model T, and he controlled everything from a mine, coal mine to iron ores to everything.
The
So
complete supply chain, raw materials, everything.
Yeah, he integrated the supply chain and reduced the cost so much that the Model T was the cheapest car for a long, long time. And he painted only one color. He said you can have any color as long as it is black.
Correct.
So he really expanded the market for automobiles and made it as big as it is today. But he refused to make any other cars for a long time. These Alfred Sloan and William Durant got together and made a lot of cars. So when the affluent, the market segmentized, the poor were still buying Model T, and the rich started to buy other companies. So over a period of time, GM became bigger than Ford, and then Ford started making many cars. They made Ford Mustang and other things.
Yeah, now their trucks are the most famous.
Yeah, but they could not catch up with GM. That's how GM became number one. Now, why I don't look at American cars is American car companies are only strong in America. And even in America, the biggest guy is Toyota.
True.
Right? So, the American companies are not big companies even in America. Two of the American companies tried to start a company here and folded up in India.
True.
Ford and GM. GM tried everything. They brought Opel Astra, then GM Cherry or some of the small car they made.
The Chevrolet also there.
It failed completely. Ford failed completely. They opened here in Madras and shut shop. Chrysler has tried through only Fiat, and Fiat is a struggling brand here. So they have no presence in India. Then they will have no presence in China because China is the fastest growing electric market. They are not even anywhere near there. So Ford is a strong brand in America.
But do you think the main reason why these American car manufacturers like Ford and GM suffered It was because of this historic problem they've always had with labor, the union, and constant labor cost and negotiation with the unions. Did that really put them out of advantage compared to Asian peers?
See, India became very successful as a exporter of two-wheelers and four-wheelers because labor cost as a percentage of total cost is very low. So if you make a car or a bike, only 5 or 6% is labor cost. The point is their technology was not efficient. They never made small cars. Basically, engines had to be smaller, and nobody expected. They didn't never expected the 73 oil embargo, and they didn't expect the price of petrol to shoot up so much. So they were always making gas guzzlers.
Correct. Yeah, I remember that.
The Japanese started making fuel efficient cars. The Honda Civic and Toyota Camry were very successful, and Toyota Corolla. The Honda Accord, they started running circles around. The Americans never thought these cars will fuel efficient. Small car from Japan will compete with them. It did, and it crushed them.
Okay.
This was in America. Nowhere in the world can you afford these gas guzzlers.
Okay.
Because in Europe, the tax on petrol is huge. In India, tax on petrol is huge. So the American cars never
So
succeed.
even an idea of them expanding outside US aggressively, Ford and GM expanding out of US aggressively, and to lift up the domestic sales which are dropping off the cliff. This is not going to help them. They can't expand
It's not going to be it's not a global company.
Okay.
The idea of buying international stocks for us is to own global companies.
Very true. Even the Japanese companies were looking at
The Japanese Toyota is not a Japanese company, it's a global company. Honda is a global sport. There are other American companies I own which are global, like Nike. Nike is not an American company, Nike is a global company. So this is what I think.
Okay.
But since we are about it and since you raised it once, tomorrow we will discuss Airbus and Boeing.
That tomorrow we'll follow up with Airbus and Boeing and continue this conversation with Anand.
In the next 20 years, what is automobiles tomorrow will be bipedal robots. Hyundai owns another company. But the thing is, Honda has the technology that you cannot buy good quality stocks. The Japanese cannot make electric vehicles. He says most of the race engines in Formula 1 are supplied by Honda. 220, I was very happy. Thanks to Trump's 25% tariff, it has come back to 175. Both are equally dangerous. Both are two sides of the same coin.
Yeah. Okay.
And I blame Barack Obama. He should have really hammered the banks. He allowed the banks to get away.